Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we've got an episode of Sniper Sunday, and things have gotten a little bit more exciting since the last main patch because DMRs have become a little bit more useful. Assault rifles, machine guns, carbines have gotten a little bit of a damage nerf, making DMRs slightly more effective, only slightly though. We've also gotten the visual recoil fix, which is going to make medium time scopes much more practical, especially on DMRs. So what I'm using here is the RFB with an Acog Scope. Now the RFB stands for Rifle Forward Ejecting Bullpup. Certainly a weird acronym, but Kel-Tec, the guys who make the rifle in real life, I think just wanted people to know that the shells eject forward, which is important if you are an ambidextrous shooter or you're a left-handed shooter and you don't want to have to switch the gun over to left-handed shooting or left-handed shell ejection. It's nice to be able to have a weapon that's not really going to spit hot brass in your face if you shoot it from the other hand. As for the other attachments, the angled foregrip is a great attachment for any DMR out there, and that's what I've got on the front of this gun. As for muzzle attachments, you could either run with a muzzle brake, you could run with a flash suppressor, you could run with a full suppressor. There's a lot of options for your barrels with this weapon depending on what you're in the mood for. The muzzle brake can be effective. I didn't find it really affecting my long range accuracy too much, so if you really find that vertical recoil a bit of an issue, then certainly throw that on there. You also notice that I do have the canted iron sights on there in case I need close quarter accuracy, but I don't really end up using that too much because the hipfire accuracy of this is usually good enough to drop anybody who's that close in your face. Otherwise, the Acog seems to be pretty good for me even in medium range engagements. You'll notice for my field upgrade, I do still have the sniper perk on there as I am using the recon class, but it's not really necessary for using a DMR in general. You might want to run with defensive or even offensive for the extra ammo if you're going to be spamming a lot of fire at longer ranges. You can even run a different class entirely, like perhaps the assault class, and go grenadier and use med packs. This would actually be a really great way to run with a DMR. However, in the theme of Sniper Sunday, I've decided to stick with the recon class just to make it a little bit more about sniping. Now I picked the RFB today for a couple reasons, one of which is I just really haven't used this gun very much in Battlefield 4. Another is that it actually got a nice update in the latest patch. Its maximum bullet velocity has been bumped up to 600 meters per second, making it much more effective at hitting distance targets and moving targets. Prior to the patch, it only shot at 460 meters per second, which is painfully slow, so this is a massive upgrade to the overall performance of the gun. I love muzzle velocity as a stat overall, and I think it's one of the more important stats for a sniper rifle and a designated marksman rifle. You have to be able to hit your targets at long range. Slower muzzle velocity is going to make that much harder regardless of whether or not they're moving. A big part of dropping people quickly is hitting them in the head. Now if you can't hit them in the head reliably because you have too much bullet drop because your bullets are traveling too slow, then it's again going to make it harder to down long range targets, and it's usually going to give them a slight advantage on you. You'll notice in this clip here, I'm going to put 3 rounds into this sniper at range, and then I'm only going to put 2 rounds into the support player because I headshot the support player. If you get a headshot and a body shot, you can down somebody in 2 shots. If you get 2 headshots, it's still 2 shots. And if you get only body shots, then it's going to be 3 shots to down somebody. This applies actually for any range that you engage anybody in. And honestly, that's one of my gripes with the DMR balancing in this game, is that the time to kill does not change regardless of the range that you engage people at. Once upon a time in a wonderful game called Battlefield 3, DMRs could 2-shot people in extreme close quarters and potentially 1-shot headshot. This made the weapon much more interesting in CQB because they actually had a chance to out damage an assault rifle if you were on your game and spot on with your accuracy. Now I do have to say, since we do not have that visual recoil with optics anymore, ACOGs are a lot of fun to use on these. Any medium time scope is going to really seem like it's right at home. You're not going to have this massive visual recoil that's just really upsetting your target tracking and your ability to put follow-up shots downrange precisely. I no longer feel like I need to use red dot sights with these, nor do I feel like red dots provide a bigger advantage over an Acog. These are precision weapons, you're supposed to be using them at further distances, and the Acog's really going to allow me to hit those headshots and precise body shots at further ranges. And setting yourself up at the ideal range isn't just about your in-game strategy, it's a little bit about your out-game strategy, picking the right servers and the right maps to play on. TDM and domination can be good if you pick the right maps. You don't want something that's all about close quarter in your face action. you're going to want something that allows you to put that range between you and your opponent. If it is sort of a close quarter TDM map, you're going to want to get up on some rooftops, put that range between you and your opponent. If you're playing something like Chain Link, which is definitely infantry heavy and a good way to focus on getting infantry kills, make sure you pick a map that's appropriate for it. Lamphini Gardens is a great one because it's going to allow you a lot of longer range encounters. You're also going to have a lot of elevated cover to choose from, and you're going to see me in a few clips in a little bit just absolutely dominating from the second story of a few buildings. Now, why is elevated cover so valuable? Well, if you think about it, if you're running around on the ground level, first you're going to be checking off ground level targets and areas that you can be attacked from. It's almost always second priority to check above you, which is going to give anybody who's hiding above you that much more time to actually zero in and get the kill on you. So it's about reaction time of your opponents on the ground level, and it's also about being able to shoot over ground cover. Now, a lot of times people on the ground level are going to be covering themselves against other players on the ground level, and they're not going to be anticipating those higher angles that do have the ability to just slightly see over their cover and perhaps pick off a few lucky headshots. Now, if you're watching this video and you pick up the RFB thinking you're just going to do awesomely with it because it looks like it's a great gun, you might find yourself having a few issues. It was a little tricky for me to get into using this weapon because its maximum rate of fire is capped at 260 rounds per minute, which is pretty average overall for DMRs, but if you're used to something like the SKS, which has 330 rounds per minute, that slight change in rate of fire is actually a pretty big deal. So you're going to have to start timing yourself to shooting at 260 rounds per minute, and that's going to be very tricky in close quarters. So again, that makes it a much bigger deal to engage people from further ranges because your rate of fire is going to determine your time to kill in CQB, and 260 is basically a death sentence against anything. So just keep that in mind. You do have a slower rate of fire with the RFB than a lot of other DMRs out there. Anyway, that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of Sniper Sunday. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.